What if I told you that Elon Musk, the richest man alive today, worth hundreds of billions of dollars, doesn't even crack the top 3 richest people in all of human history? What if I told you there was a man whose pilgrimage to Mecca was so extravagant it crashed the global economy? Today, we're ranking the richest people in all of history. We're talking emperors, pharaohs, oil barons, tech titans, and we're converting everything to 2024 dollars so we can actually compare them. Some of these numbers are going to break your brain. Let's get into it. Quick ground rules before we start. Comparing wealth across centuries is genuinely hard. A Roman emperor's fortune isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in how much of the world's economy he controlled. So historians and economists use GDP-share estimates to convert historical wealth into modern terms. These numbers are the best approximations we have, but trust me, even the low estimates are absolutely wild. Let's count it down. At number 10, we've got a name you definitely know. Cleopatra VII, Pharaoh of Egypt, circa 69 to 30 BC. Now, Cleopatra isn't always on these lists, but she should be. As the absolute ruler of Egypt, she personally owned the kingdom. We're not talking about a salary or a royal allowance. We mean the entire agricultural output of the Nile, the trade revenues from the Mediterranean, the royal treasuries, all hers. Egypt at that time was the single wealthiest state in the ancient world. Historians estimate her personal fortune in today's money at around $96 billion. And she used every bit of it strategically, financing military alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. She wasn't just rich, she was politically dangerous because of it. She comes in at number 10, but honestly, she deserves more credit than history gives her. Number 9, Bill Gates, the man who put a computer on every desk and made himself one of the wealthiest humans alive in the process. Gates peaked in the late 1990s at around $100 billion in nominal terms, but as a percentage of the U.S. economy at the time, some estimates push the equivalent figure higher. We'll put his all-time inflation-adjusted peak at roughly $150 billion. Now here's the wild part. He's given away more than $50 billion through the Gates Foundation. $50 billion in donations, and he's still worth over $100 billion. That's the power of compounding Microsoft equity for 30 years. Gates is a legend, but compared to what's coming, he's just warming up the list. Number 8. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, the man who turned online book sales into world domination. Bezos briefly became the first person in modern history to cross the $200 billion mark. He built Amazon from a garage startup into the world's most powerful retailer and cloud computing empire. Oh, and SpaceX competitor. Oh, and he has a super yacht so big it needed its own support yacht. We're estimating his all-time peak at around $200 billion. He's fallen a bit from that peak, divorce settlement, stock fluctuations, but he remains consistently one of the 3 richest people alive. A genuine titan of the modern age. But again, wait for what's coming. Number 7. You knew he was going to be here. Elon Musk. Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, The Boring Company, X, formerly Twitter. This guy doesn't stop. In late 2021, Musk became the richest person in modern recorded history with a net worth that briefly exceeded $340 billion. And in 2024, he crossed $400 billion, becoming the first person ever to hit that milestone. He is, without question, the richest person alive today. But here's the thing about Musk's wealth. Almost all of it is tied to publicly traded stock, which means it moves a lot. He's lost $100 billion in a single year before. He's gained it back. Richest person alive, 7th all time. Not bad for a guy from Pretoria, South Africa. Number 6 takes us back in time to the last Tsar of Russia,
Nicholas II, who ruled until 1917. Here's what most people don't realize about the Romanov dynasty. The Tsar didn't just rule Russia, he technically owned it. 1/6 of the entire Earth's land surface was, legally, his personal property. The Romanov family's assets, including gold, jewels, palaces, art collections, land, and secret foreign bank accounts, are estimated at somewhere between $250 and $300 billion in today's money. In 1918, Bolshevik forces executed Nicholas II and his entire family, ending the 300-year Romanov dynasty. Most of the wealth was seized by the Soviet state. Some of it is still missing. One of history's most dramatic falls from wealth to nothing. Coming in at number 6. Number 5 is someone most people have never heard of, and that's exactly why we're here. Jakob Fugger, known in his time as Jakob the Rich, was the most powerful banker of the Renaissance era, operating out of Augsburg, Germany in the late 1400s and early 1500s. Fugger controlled the copper and silver trade across Europe. He financed Holy Roman emperors. When Charles V needed to win the imperial election in 1519, he came to Fugger. Fugger lent him the money. Charles V won. At his peak, his fortune represented roughly 2% of the entire European GDP, equivalent to somewhere between $277 and $400 billion in today's money. He once wrote a letter to a debtor emperor, reminding him that without Fugger's money, he wouldn't be sitting on that throne. A medieval banker who was richer than most modern tech billionaires. Number 5. Number 3. The man most Americans think of when they think of extreme wealth. John D. Rockefeller. Rockefeller built Standard Oil into a monopoly that controlled nearly 90% of all oil refining in the United States. Think about that. 9 out of 10 barrels of oil in America, his. At his peak in 1913, his personal fortune represented approximately 1.5% of the entire U.S. GDP. No modern billionaire, not Musk, not Bezos, not Gates, has ever come close to that ratio. Adjusted to today's GDP share, his wealth sits somewhere between $400 and $700 billion. Some estimates go even higher. The government eventually forced Standard Oil to break up into 34 separate companies. Several of those companies eventually became ExxonMobil, Chevron, and BP. So his empire literally became the modern oil industry. John D. Rockefeller, the richest American who ever lived. Number 3 all time. Number 2, and this is where things get truly unreal. Mansa Musa I, Emperor of the Mali Empire, who ruled from 1312 to 1337. The Mali Empire, at its height, controlled more than half of the world's gold supply, and all of it flowed through Mansa Musa. In 1324, he made a pilgrimage to Mecca as a devout Muslim, and he did not do it quietly. He traveled with an entourage of 60,000 people. He brought 12,000 enslaved servants, each carrying bars of gold. He gave away so much gold in Egypt and North Africa as gifts and charity that he crashed gold prices across the entire region for the next 10 years. He crashed a continent's economy with generosity. Some historians estimate his fortune at $400 billion or more in today's terms. Others say his wealth is genuinely incalculable. We simply don't have the accounting records to put a number on it. Mansa Musa is perhaps the most famous example of a fortune so vast it defies modern comprehension. He comes in at number 2 only because of one man who, by the numbers, controlled something even more astonishing. Number 1. The richest person in all of human history. Augustus Caesar, first emperor of Rome who ruled from 27 BC to 14 AD. Now, Augustus didn't just rule Rome. When he defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra and took control of Egypt, he didn't make Egypt a province of Rome.
He made it his personal property. Egypt was, at that time, the single richest territory in the ancient world. Its agricultural output alone fed the entire Mediterranean. Economists who study ancient wealth estimate that at his peak, Augustus personally controlled somewhere between 25 and 30% of the entire global GDP of the Roman world. Let that sink in. One person. A quarter of everything the entire world produced. In today's terms, adjusted for his share of the ancient economy, that translates to a staggering $4.6 trillion. Not billion, trillion. No human being in recorded history has ever controlled a larger share of their world's total wealth than Augustus Caesar. Not a king, not a pharaoh, not a tech billionaire. The richest person who ever lived, by the numbers, was a Roman emperor who died 2,000 years ago. So there you have it, the 10 richest people in all of human history, ranked. Modern billionaires are genuinely, almost incomprehensibly wealthy. But when you zoom out across all of human history, empires, pharaohs, medieval bankers, the scale of wealth that existed in those eras puts even today's richest people in perspective. The big takeaway? The richest people in history didn't just have money. They controlled systems, oil, steel, gold, trade routes, entire empires. Wealth at that level is always about control. If you found this video interesting, smash that like button. It seriously helps the channel more than you know. Subscribe if you're new and drop a comment below. Who did you think was going to be #1 before you watched? I'll see you in the next one.